Welcome back to S&S Grills. I'm Greg from the Ballistic Barbecue channel, and today I'm going to show you how to make some of the best smoked beef ribs you've ever had, and we're doing it all on the slow and sear kettle. Let's get going. So you'll see these ribs either on a menu or at your local store labeled as beef short ribs, dino ribs, plate ribs, beef plate. These are my favorite beef ribs to cook. Again, brisket on a stick, just rich, tender, and easy to cook. I started this process last night by first trimming off the fat cap and all the silver skin, and then I went into a dry brine. Basically what I did was coat this entire rack of ribs with about 1/2 teaspoon per pound of coarse ground kosher salt. I placed the ribs on a cooling rack on top of a small cookie sheet, put them in a refrigerator overnight uncovered. Now, I suggest doing this overnight, but if you are going to dry brine, make sure that you do it at least 2 hours before your cook. Now I'm going to season these ribs, and I'm using not just for beef rub. I selected this because it tastes great with beef, but more importantly to me at least, is there's no salt in this. So since I dry brine this last night, I don't have to worry about over salting the meat. Now, if you'd rather make your own rub, I'll be posting a great rub recipe down in the description box below. I'm just gonna apply a nice liberal amount of this rub. And I'm not gonna worry about seasoning the back. Let's go ahead and get this kettle lit. And here's the setup I'm using for this cook. I have the drip and grill in place. This is going to help with the cleanup. Obviously it's slow and sear with the water reservoir. I'm going to place one charcoal starter in the charcoal tray of the slow and sear. And then on top of that, I'm going to add about 12 briquettes. Get that lit. Now we're just going to wait. So the charcoal is going. At this point, I'm going to add 1 quart of boiling water to the water reservoir. And this is going to help us maintain nice, even heat during this cook. Now I'm going to add 1 full charcoal chimney, or about 100 briquettes, to the slow and sear charcoal basket. Now I want a little smoke, so I'm going to add 3 chunks of wood. This is hickory to the basket. And make sure you space the wood out. Get that cooking grate down. Want to make sure that the open end is above the charcoal, so if you want to add a little bit more wood or if you need to add more charcoal. Now I'm going to add a wireless thermometer so I can monitor the temperature of the kettle. Now I'm going to put the lid on, making sure that the damper is over where the food is, fully open. Lower dampers are still fully open. And I'm going to keep these dampers fully open until we reach 175 degrees Fahrenheit, and then we'll start making some adjustments to bring this cooker down to my target temperature, which is going to be 250 degrees Fahrenheit. We just hit 175 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to adjust the upper lid damper until it's 1/3 of the way open. I'm going to fully shut down the lower damper and the smoke hole to halfway open. Now I'm just going to keep my eye on the temperature, and I'll make little adjustments accordingly. I just want to make sure that I don't overshoot that 250 degree Fahrenheit target that I set up. So I had to wait about 15 minutes, and we are at 250 degrees Fahrenheit now. The only adjustment I had to make was I had to open up that smoke hole just a little bit more, like about 1/8 of an inch more. Going to go ahead and put those ribs on the grate. I will be monitoring the temperature of the meat on this cook. Just want to make sure I get it into the thick part of the meat here, and I do not want to touch the bones. Now I'm not cooking this meat to a specific temperature. I am just simply monitoring the temperature so I can kind of gauge the progress. I'm cooking this until it is probe tender. I'll keep you guys posted on the progress, but right now it's looking good. Really the only thing I'm concerned about temperature-wise is the kettle temperature. If I need to make a little adjustments, if it's getting a little too hot, shut the dampers down a little bit. If it needs to heat up a little bit, open them up a little bit. Easy stuff. We're 3 hours in. The ribs are not done, but I want to show you what they're looking like. So as you can see, we're getting some good pullback. Now, some of the meat is receding off of the bone here. This is just what happens with beef short ribs. Now I'm going to check for tenderness. And again, I know it's not done yet. See, we're still getting some resistance when I push the probe in. So with a cook like this, we're looking for tenderness rather than temperatures. So when we say probe tender, basically what we're looking for is when the probe goes into the meat and comes out of the meat, it should feel basically like, you can imagine a cube of butter, an unwrapped cube of butter in your fridge, coming out, poking the probe into the butter and pulling it out. That's what it's going to feel like. Very, very little resistance. I'm guessing we have probably another 2 hours or so to go before these ribs are done, but they're looking great, smelling great. All right, it's been 5 hours and 15 minutes. Ribs are done. You can see it's going in with very little resistance now. So for those of you who want to know, the final temperature ended up being 197 degrees, but again, we're going off tenderness. You can't always count on them being done at a certain temperature. They have their own personalities. So what I'm going to do now is pull this. I'm going to loosely drape it with foil and let it rest, and then slice them up, give you guys a try. And here we go. All rested up and ready for me to try. And again, that just rich, beefy smell permeating the air right now, just crazy, crazy, crazy. Let's go ahead and, oh, juice. See that? Oh, wow. Open the floodgates. Look at that. Beautiful. Fantastic smoke ring. And again, of course, my wife's not going to be happy. You dripping juice all over the patio, but it's for a video, honey. Anyway, let's try this out. Like I said, brisket on a stick. Tender. Oh. This bark is crazy. Oh, tender, juicy, smoky, perfectly seasoned, not too much salt. This is a good cook. This is a good cook. As far as the kettle's concerned, ran great. I found once, as I was dialing that the dampers, once I got that smoke hole opened up to where it was about 3/4 of the way opened, it locked in at 250 there and maintained that temperature throughout the cook. So it was a very easy cook. I actually went out and ran some errands and left it unattended, and I came back and it was still locked on, 249, whatever. So spectacular cook, spectacular. Anyway, guys, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscription button, ring that notification bell. If you liked the video, I hope you did, thumb it up. Remember, I'm telling you something here that you really need to stop and listen. 2 zones are better than 1. See you in the next video. Cheers.